this is Hedda. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to what is probably my longest bullet journal video ever. Today I am getting my bullet journal ready for September, and the reason why this video is so long is because in this video I am setting up both my monthly and my weekly spreads for all of September. As usual, we are starting with the cover page, and I'll be using a lot of dot grid craft paper, and those are just leaves from this notebook from Notebook Therapy. The papers are really easy to just rip out, so I'll be using this a lot in this video. I'll put links to everything that I have links for in the description box below, so if there's anything that you see that you're interested in, then just head to the description box first and see if you can find a link there. I'm drawing this girl for my cover page. I'm using some Copic marker paper, and then I'm using a few different fine liners in sizes 0.3 and 0.1 for some different thickness for the lines. For the hair I'm using the 0.1, and then for the rest of the drawing I'm using the 0.3. It's because there's a lot of strands of hair and I didn't want it to just look too thick and overwhelming, so that's why I use a thinner fine liner for the hair. And this girl's gonna go on my cover page. You saw the big doily earlier. That's going to kind of frame her. I love alcohol-based markers, and I really wanted to use some of my markers for my September setup. Even though it's mostly going to be collaging, I did want to draw something as well, so this is it. Some of you guys have requested some stickers with girls with glasses, so I did make this drawing. So I did draw this digitally as well, and it's included in the journaling kit on my Patreon this month. September is my birthday month, and I wanted to just have fun with these spreads and make lots of cute little collages and all the things that I love to do. So that's why I am once again combining alcohol-based markers and collages. And the paper that I am drawing on is very thick. So I do have thinner marker paper that I like more. Like, I like how the colors of the markers look more on the thinner paper. But because I'm going to be layering this on top of a lot of other things, I went for a thicker paper so that it wouldn't be see-through. And like I said, this is a Copic marker paper, so it goes really well with the Copic markers. I'm not only using Copic markers though for this. I just picked out a few colors that fit from Copic, Deleter, and Ohuhu, because I do have a mix of markers from all of those brands, and to be honest, they are pretty much all the same. September is a fall month here in Norway, so I wanted my collage to have all of the fall colors, and that's why I'm also coloring this girl in colors that I think will suit the rest of the collage. So I'm using green, yellow, brown, a little bit of pink and kind of reddish tones. So the hair, I am taking care to use 3 different colors. Actually, for all of the colors in this drawing, I'm using 3 different colors. I'm using like a deeper tone for shading, and then I'm using a mid-tone, and then I'm using a lighter tone for like highlights. And I always start with the darkest color and do all of the shading first, and then I go over the darkest parts as well as where I want the midtones to be with the midtone. And then lastly, once I only have like a few areas available for highlights, I go over everything with the lighter color, and this way the colors kind of blend better and I don't have to use the blender marker, because I'm not a huge fan of the blender marker. I feel like it kind of washes out the color, and I did use the blender marker for my September title, so you'll see what I mean when we get to that. But that's kind of my standard procedure when I use alcohol-based markers. I don't know if that's the correct way to use alcohol-based markers, but that's what I've found to be most efficient for what I want my art to look like. After I finished the drawing, I just used my scissors to cut it out, and I made sure to leave a little bit of a white border around it so that there would be a bit of a contrast between the drawing and the background. And then I got out some old book paper, and I used this like circle stencil to draw a circle on the back of the paper, and then I just cut around the back. And since the pencil was on the back of the paper, it's not visible when you flip it over. And then I started assembling my little doily frame. So I glued the paper onto the doily. I tried to center it as best as I could, but I didn't like measure exactly, so I'm sure it's a little bit skewed, but it's good enough for me. And then I got out a bunch of stickers because I wanted to have a little bit of like a hint of florals, I guess, behind this girl. I felt like it was missing something if I just glued the girl onto the paper, so that's what I did. I used some floral stickers from Marigona Suli Art, and I also used some of my own Ikigai Papir gold foil floral stickers as well, or botanical stickers as I like to call them. And I also used dot stickers from Marigona Suli Art because she usually puts those in her sticker sheets and I really like it. The glue stick that I'm using is the Glue GLOO glue stick. I think it's from Kokuyo. I really like it. It has a really convenient shape because it's square instead of round, so it's a lot easier to glue things that aren't, you know, just round or like has easy shapes. And I glue in a lot of shapes that are not simple. So the main part of the collage is going to be on the right side, but on the left side I am doing a little quote page, and it's been a really long time since I had that on my cover page. I got out this really strange looking paper that is from Notebook Therapy. It's in their Hinoki scrapbooking set, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm just layering the dot grid craft paper on top of that to just create a little bit of dimension and texture. And then I am slowly building my collage on the right side, kind of behind the doily, because the doily is pretty large. It does take up most of the page, which is really nice. So I pretty much just have to layer some washi tape, stickers, and ephemera kind of a little bit behind it and around it. I'm using a lot of different things here, but at least the washi tapes that I'll be using in this setup, they are mostly from Paper Monogatari, Marigona Suli, and Notebook Therapy. And then the scrapbooking paper is either from Paper Monogatari or Notebook Therapy, or they are just random papers that I've been gifted in pen pal letters. And for those, I can't tell you like where they are from, but like I said, I will put links in the description box for everything that I have links for, and I'm sorting all of the links after which spread they show up in, so you should be able to easily find what you're looking for. I have a tendency to sometimes go a little bit overboard with my collaging spread, so I did try to tone it down just a little bit for the spread. Like, there's a lot of pieces here, but most of them are kind of behind the big doily frame, so I feel like it's not too intense, and it's also a lot of muted colors, so I feel like that also helps. At the bottom here, I was just trying to cover up the white a little bit because this is where I want the September title to be, and I'm going to write it on a separate piece of paper and then cut it out and glue it in, because that way there's more contrast between the text and the background, so the text doesn't like disappear in the chaos of the rest of the collage. When I was happy with my little collage frame, I started to glue down the doily. It was a bit of a project to get glue all over it because of all of the tiny holes, but I finally did it. It didn't like stick completely, but you know, I think it's okay. I used my alcohol-based markers to hand letter September on a separate piece of paper. I used the marker paper again, and I don't normally hand letter with my alcohol-based markers. They are usually reserved exclusively for drawing, but I really wanted this blended effect, and I have to say that alcohol-based markers just blend so much better than water-based markers. And here I used 2 different orange markers, and I used the blending marker, as you can see. So I feel like I got this nice orange gradient. that kind of looks like a sunrise or a sunset, and I really like how it turned out. And to get even more contrast, I went around it with a black fine liner, just went around the entire thing, and I also did a little drop shadow with a thinner fine liner afterwards. So I did put a lot of effort into my September title, and I really like how it turned out. Not gonna lie, it was a little bit tricky to cut out the title because the paper is so thick, so it's a little bit tricky, but I did it. And I made sure to have a little bit of a white border around the text as well, just like the girl. And then I just filled up the background with a little bit more paper. It is easier to glue things to paper than it is to glue it to washi tape, so I made sure to mostly have paper behind it. And then I got started on the quote page, and for this I just roughly sketched my quote with a pencil, and then I used 2 different fine liners, one thick and one thinner, to do some of the lettering, and then I also used a Pentel brush pen for the hand lettering parts of the quote. And I think that it looks really nice to combine different fonts when doing quote pages. It does make it a little bit more interesting. It's not just writing the quote, but it's making the words into an art piece, if that makes sense. I mentioned earlier that September is my birthday month. My birthday is September 6th, so that makes me a Virgo. And this birthday this year is a little bit special because I actually turned 30. I was born in 1993. For the past 10 years I've been in my 20s, and it's been great and all of that, and now suddenly there's a 3 at the beginning of my age, and I'm just not used to that yet. I'm definitely okay with going into my 30s. I'm not so scared of getting older. It's just a transition, and it is a little bit weird. I remember when I got into my 20s, I was like so happy to be out of my teenage years because it seemed like things would only get better. And I feel the same way now, actually. Like, it's nice to be out of my 20s, and I look forward to my 30s. I think it's going to be a great decade. But of course, like, getting older doesn't mean that we need to grow up, if that makes sense. So the quote that I chose is by Walt Disney, supposedly, and it says, "Laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever." Because I do think that it is important to remember that just because we get older doesn't mean that things have to change, or we have to do something else, or we can't do the things that we enjoy or something like that. I think that we can just keep being youthful inside even though we get older on the outside. I've asked my dad, who is now 60, before how he feels on the inside, and he says that he still feels like he's 30. I asked my grandma, who is now 95, and she said she still feels like she's 30 on the inside. And it's just really weird to have an old body when you feel so young inside. And that's something that I think we can all keep in mind, that everyone is just going through life for the first time. And once you're an adult, your mind will be just as youthful even though your body gets older. So I will keep being creative and keep dreaming big dreams, and I'm going to enjoy my 30s just as much as I enjoyed my 20s, maybe even more. And I talked way too much about that. Now we have moved on to my next spread, which is the calendar spread for September. And I made a little calendar on the same dot grid craft paper as before, and this calendar looks a little bit strange because it's very slim and long, but I wanted to try a different layout, and I thought this could be fun. So it's a lot smaller than my recent layouts, but the nice thing is that this can all fit onto one side of the spread, onto one page, and I could still fit a little bit of collaging around it or behind it. I used my own number stickers to label each day, and I used 2 different colors, or 3 different colors actually, because there's a little bit of August and a little bit of October in there. And then I also marked my birthday in a different color because why not? You may notice that I had already cut out these craft, like dot grid craft paper pieces in the sizes that I wanted, and that was because I needed to prep a little bit before filming this. Otherwise, the whole process would just take me too long, because when collaging, you can't really sketch very much ahead of time because you're not really drawing. So my preparation involved just cutting out the craft paper pieces and kind of figure out roughly where I wanted them to go. And it's a good thing that I did, because when I checked like all of the footage that I had for this video, it was like 6.5 hours of footage. So I'm quite proud that I got it down to under 1 hour, even though I know that this video is really long. It's a lot longer than most of my other Plan With Me videos. Not my reading journal videos, but my bullet journal videos. The reason is mostly because I'm doing all the weekly spreads as well in this video. I am definitely not a less is more type of person when it comes to collaging, but I did try to make sure that it wasn't overfilled this time. So what I'm doing is I'm placing some washi tape and paper and ephemera just a little bit behind everything so that it is visible, kind of peeking out behind the calendar, but it's also not too much so that it becomes overwhelming. And I tried to mostly use kind of neutral or orangey tones, but I do also have this more black washi tape that I think looks really cool because it has the moon phases on it, and it does create a nice little contrast, like the darker colors. And I quite like how the calendar spread turned out. There is room enough to write in it, even though the rectangles for each day are quite small. They are 3 by 7 squares, so that's 1.5 centimeters wide and then 3.5 centimeters tall. So quite small, but my handwriting is quite small to begin with, so I've started filling it in a little bit and there is enough room. And I do have a lot of room to write in my weekly spreads, and I think that that helps a lot. For stickers and additional decoration and everything, I'm using a combination of my own Ikigai Papier stickers and stickers from Marigo Nasuli, because these are all like fairly small and easy to just pop in here and there, and I really like that. I recently released a whole like cottage core aesthetic themed sticker bundle, so all of the stickers from me that you see in this video are from that collection. The girl and the boy stickers and everything, you will see more of that later on in the video as well. But yeah, I was really pleased with them and I really enjoyed using them in my own spreads for this month. It definitely feels special. Especially these girl stickers were some of the first girl stickers that I made for my shop back in 2021, and so I just redesigned them this year because it had been quite a while since I drew them and I felt like they didn't look the way that stickers that I make now look, if that makes sense. So I did redesign them and redraw them, and I really like how they turned out. And I think September 2021 was the first time that I really started diving into drawing more like people for my bullet journal spreads, because that has always been my passion and I just hadn't put that into my bullet journal until then, because I was a little bit worried about, and this sounds really silly because your bullet journal is for you and it shouldn't matter what other people think, but I guess because I make YouTube videos, I do think about what other people will think. And so I remember back then I was a little bit worried if people wouldn't like it, but it turns out that when you are really passionate about something and you really like doing it and you like creating it, then that is conveyed through the art. And it turned out that lots of people really liked it, and so I kept doing it. So now I feel like I've come full circle doing a very similar theme to what I did in September 2021. And this is kind of an updated version of that theme, and it's a theme that just makes me really happy because of that experience that I had 2 years ago. So yeah, that's a lot of talk about that, but that kind of just explains my feelings regarding this theme. If you're wondering about the sections of dot grid craft paper on this page, the top big square is going to be for my tasks for the month, like my main tasks list. And then the bottom are actually for books that I'm reading in September. I have a reading journal and I put all of that stuff in there. But because this theme does have a hint of like books and just bookish stickers and stuff like that, I thought it would be fun to incorporate a little bit more of that into these spreads. So I have room for 4 books. I think I will read 4 books in September, probably. If I read more, then I'll just not put in all of them. And if I read less, then that's fine. So I am planning on printing out the book covers that I read, and I'll just print out 2 of each. So 1 for my reading journal and then 1 for my bullet journal. I am using a black fine liner in the size 0.5 to kind of draw a little border around each of the sections, and I did this mostly to make the left page match the right page, since the right page has the calendar with the same fine liner. And then I used my own planner header stickers that I made to make little headers, and I think that it looks really nice with the white background of the stickers on the craft paper. Unfortunately, I actually don't have any like reading journal headers. I noticed that when I was making this, I'm like, why haven't I made that? So I actually went ahead and made some, and I'll have them printed and release them in the shop when I'm ready and have a bit more stuff. So you can look forward to that. There will be reading journal headers. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to use them like every month. And that was the monthly spreads that I made for September. And now we can move on to the weeklies. And my weeklies will have a combination of like monthly stuff and weekly stuff, if that makes sense. I think it will make sense once you see the layout. I was flipping through my journal the other day and I realized that I have a lot of pages left. And if I want to fill in my journal by the end of the year, like my plan is, then I actually need to use a lot more pages every month than I have been doing recently. I've been doing a lot of like 2 weeks on one spread type of thing, because that's really all I've been needing. So I decided that for September I'm gonna do Dutch doors, because that means that each spread is a little bit smaller, and then I can do 1 week on each spread. So I measured loosely, not perfectly, because I did make a little mistake with the top tab here, because the top tab should have been like 0.5 centimeter further down. I did fix it though. You can kind of see me using the dot grid craft paper, just gluing that onto the tabs and cutting off the excess. It was a bit of a process, and I don't know, I don't think it's difficult, it just took a while. And it does make the tabs a little bit thick, but that's also okay because it makes them easy to like grab onto. So yeah, the top tab I was able to fix because I was gluing craft paper onto both the front and the back side. So that way I could move the tab 0.5 centimeter down, and that made all of the tabs the same distance apart from each other, if that makes sense. So since the first and the last spread here will have more room, I have the 2 columns, like the left side on the first weekly spread and then the right side on the last weekly spread. And I'm using those sections for more like monthly planning. So on the left side, I'm going to have a habit tracker, and then on the right side, I'm going to have like a weekly overview. I like to have these like weekly, not tasks, but like the main priorities for each week. I think it's really nice to be able to look at that overview and be like, okay, so that week I'm going to focus on that, and then the next week I'll focus on this other thing, because I can easily get caught up in the fun tasks and kind of prioritize doing the fun things, and then suddenly I realize that some of the things that take longer, I've put those off until the last minute, and that's not fun. So that's why I have a weekly overview. But here you can see me making the habit tracker. And I just did like a simple little collage behind it. And I made sure not to make the collage strictly fit into the column, because once I'm in the first week of September, or actually it will be like the last 4 days of August and the first 3 days of September, because I just want to use these spreads right away. So I decided to just have that week in September instead of August, even though it has more days in August than September. So I'm breaking my own rule, but whatever. But yeah, since the spread will contain a weekly as well as the habit tracker, I made sure that the collage kind of blends in with the rest of the spread and is a part of the rest of the spread, so that there is no like clear border, if that makes sense. I think you'll see what I mean when I'm actually done with the spread. I have a hard time keeping up with habit trackers, so I think that it will be helpful to always see the habit tracker. Like no matter which weekly spread I'm on, I'll be able to see the habit tracker, and maybe it will be a little bit easier to fill it in. I don't know. Only time will tell. If you watched my other bullet journal videos, you'll know that I don't usually set up all of my weeklies in my monthly planning videos like I'm doing today. And I'm doing it a little bit differently this month. Firstly, because of the Dutch doors, it just made it easier to plan it all out ahead of time. And also because I kind of just wanted to get it all done, because lately it's been a little bit tough trying to keep up with making new weekly spreads every week. And so I think to help myself a little bit with that, I'm setting them up all ahead of time, and it will make planning ahead a little bit easier for me. And it's just what worked for me this time. I decided to decorate each of the weekly spreads a little bit differently, so they're not all using the same stickers or the same washi tapes and ephemera, but they all go together still. I didn't go for like specific themes necessarily, although some of the pages uses elements from certain like sticker sets more than others, and you'll see what I mean once I get to them. But yeah, I just mixed a lot of different stuff, and that was really nice. Instead of just trying to focus on one thing or trying to highlight like my own sticker collection or someone else's stickers or washi tape or whatever, I just went for a good old mix, and I think that it turned out really nice. On the first 2 weekly spreads, I didn't make that much decorations. Like I didn't put in that much decorations in the middle of the spread, and I mostly just used my number and days of the week stickers to separate each day. And I didn't really measure that much to make sure that all of the sections were the same size, so they're not. But I think that it will work out okay. I don't need as much space for the weekends as I do for the weekdays, for example. But for spreads 3, 4, and 5, I definitely used more decorations. So those spreads look a little bit fuller. And I think I like how those turn out more than the first and the second. But I can't go back now and change it. So it is what it is. And it's not that I don't like the spreads, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I could have done more in them and made them fuller, if that makes sense. Anyway, we're all our own biggest critic, right? So I might be the only one who thinks this. I have so much stationery right now, like so many stickers and ephemera and stuff like that, and I really want to use all of it, and that's why doing a theme like this is so great, because I can use all the little thingies that I've collected, and I can just mix and match and just use what I think fits the spread the most. And I really enjoy doing themes like this. I mean, I have already done a lot of collage themes this year. I do try to vary it a little bit because sometimes I just want to draw and sometimes I just want to collage. I do realize though that makes my bullet journal style maybe not be so recognizable just because I do different things. every month. But in the end, I'm not sure if that matters so much because like I mentioned before, like our bullet journals are supposed to be for us and serve the purposes that we need them to serve. And for me right now, I need to collage and use my stationery and mix in my own stickers and mix in other stickers that I've collected over the years. And fall is just such an amazing stationery season. Like there's just something special about fall themed stationery. It just makes me so happy, and the colors, like the warm tones, it's just so beautiful and makes me feel really creative, and it gives me motivation, I guess. I gained so many ideas. Like August, September, October, those are like my best creative months, I think. And also, like being Norwegian, there is this thing that like during the summer, if you're not outside and enjoying the sun for like the 2 months that we have nice weather, you feel this like shame. If you're inside, you're like wasting the summer. But as we get into the fall and it's really rainy, it's actually raining right now. The weather has been super rainy for a long while now. And there's no shame in staying indoors and just spend time on your hobbies and crafting and doing all of that fun stuff. And that's what this collaging is for me. As you can see, we have moved on to week 3 of September, or it's what I call week 3 since I started week 1 at the end of August. And in this spread, I wanted to give a little highlight to Marigona Suli's stickers because last year I got a bunch of fall themed stickers from her, but it was kind of towards the end of fall. And then I didn't really want to use them because it was suddenly the wrong season, and now it's the perfect time, and I decided to combine them with some stamps. These are some typewriter stamps from Notebook Therapy, and I'm using a brown stamp pad instead of black because it's a little bit softer and I feel like it fits the collages a little bit more. The only black I've used here is actually the black fine liners on top of the craft paper, and that was pretty much so that all of the lines would be extra visible. But all of the stamps that I'm using the brown stamp pad. I actually bought a red stamp pad recently, but I completely forgot to use it. So I'm not sure what happened in my brain there, because I think it could have been really fun to use a red stamp pad in this setup as well. My golden recipe for collages is always like ephemera, washi tape, sticker in some kind of order. I mean, the sticker usually goes on top, and then the washi tape and the ephemera is like either the washi tape is at the bottom or the ephemera is, and you kind of layer it that way. And you can see that I'm doing that for almost all of the headers here. At the top, I've got 2 washi tapes and a sticker, and then below that, I've got washi tape and ephemera and then a sticker. And I feel like this formula just works really well for me. And if I have a stamp, then I'll usually stamp either underneath, so that it's just visible underneath, or on top. And stamping on top of washi tape is not a great idea because it's gonna like smudge and come off, but stamping on paper is perfectly fine. What I've noticed with these typewriter stamps from Notebook Therapy is that you gotta be really careful not to push too hard down on the paper when you stamp. So just like lightly touch it to the paper, and that's when you'll have the best result with these stamps, because if you push too far, like the rubber is kind of soft, so it will kind of just smudge out the letters, if that makes sense. That being said, I really like these stamps. I have started the process of actually cutting off the corners of the rubber on some of the stamps. I want to get through all of them, but it does take a while and I'm a little bit impatient. But that means that you won't get those like stamped edges. Like you can see kind of below the 4 on the 14 Thursday, at the top right in the spread, there's a little bit of like stamp smudge from the corner of the number 4, and I don't want that to happen. So I use my X-Acto knife and I cut off the corners. I learned this from some of my patrons who do this. And it's game changing, really. But yeah, like I said, it does take a while to get through all of them, and I do have a lot of rubber stamps like these, and doing it to all of them is quite the project. Anyway, I've been looking for some typewriter stamps or like similar stamps that are just slightly larger than the ones that I have, because I would love to also use them for like headers and stuff, but these ones are just so small that they won't be like that eye-catching as a header. So if you know of any stamps like that, please let me know in the comments so that I can check them out. And as I get into week 4, you can see that I got out my traveler's notebook, well, one of them. This one is filled with the sticker release paper inserts. So here I have a lot of stickers. And for this spread, I wanted to use some of my paper Monogatari stickers from last year, because I got like double. I bought extra stickers from her last year from her fall collection, because I just thought the foxes were so pretty, and you know, fall colors, I just can't resist. There's lots of mushrooms and foxes, and I really wanted to use some of those for September. So that's why you see me flip through and try to figure out which ones to use. And the great thing about sticker release paper is that you can just take out stickers, see if they fit, and then you can put them back if you don't like it. I'm also using some Nicole Josephine stickers that I've hoarded for the longest time. And then I just kind of built this spread around the paper Monogatari stickers. On a completely unrelated note, I kind of want to do an art challenge this fall. Like I mentioned before, that I just get filled with motivation and inspiration as soon as we even get a little bit closer to fall. And I thought it would be really fun to do an art challenge, but I'm not sure exactly what. I saw something called Mailtober on Instagram, which is all about like making pen pal letters and stuff, and I thought that could be fun, but I haven't quite decided yet. If you guys have any ideas or recommendations for art challenges that exist, or just something that I could do on my own, or something that we could do together, I would love to hear about it, because I kind of want something like that. It's like a project. I mean, it's not that I'm lacking in projects, because I always have projects happening. I'm actually working on an advent calendar for my shop, which I was hoping to have like launched pre-orders for by now, but it will take a little bit longer to get everything in place. But I'm really excited about it, and now you guys know about it as well. So let me know if you're excited about that, because I definitely am, and I can't wait for you to see it. And that's all I'm gonna say about that for now. I know that this video is coming out maybe a little bit late. I've seen a lot of other creators already uploading their September plan with me. It's like a week ahead of me at least. And I mean, I wish I would have done that too, but I was a little bit behind on stuff, and I still had my reading journal video coming out and all of that. But that's not what I wanted to say. I wanted to say that there are so many pretty September themes, and I think that maybe I'm not the only one who feels extra inspired in the fall, because it seems like a lot of other creators also has made just beautiful September themes, and they all look so warm and cozy, and I really like that. I think that if I didn't make these types of YouTube videos, I might just do the same theme for September, October, and November, just because I really love these colors, and I really love just the vibes, you know? And I want to talk a little bit about the Dutch doors, because I actually really like how they turned out. Maybe you're sick of hearing me saying that I really love how my setup turned out this month, but it's true. The last time that I did Dutch doors like this was in March, but I didn't make them like this, like with tabs and with like planning stuff on the edges. Instead, I just had drawings in the side columns, and I definitely like this layout more. There's more of a purpose to the areas that are visible behind all of the Dutch doors, if that makes sense. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it earlier, but in case you forgot, the section that is here on the right side of the spread is going to be a kind of weekly overview, so that's why I have 4 boxes. Now, it doesn't quite make sense that I have 5 weekly spreads, but only 4 weekly overviews. I do realize that, but at this point I was like, I can't really fit 5 boxes and need to have room to write in the boxes as well. So that's why I only did 4, and so I don't have a weekly overview for the 1st to 3rd of September, which I think is fine. For this spread, I actually wanted to use some stickers from Leela journals. I was a little bit worried that they wouldn't fit that well because they definitely have a cooler undertone and uses more like gray and cool beige rather than like classic fall colors. Like the colors that she uses are very muted and quite different from all of the other stickers that I've used in this setup, but in a way that's also fun, you know, to vary it a little bit, use something that's a little bit different. And in the end, I think that it turned out quite cute actually. I mean, her stickers are gorgeous, they're so cute and dainty, and I think that it actually worked quite well, the contrast between the softer muted colors of the Leela journal stickers and the rest of the stationery that I used that had more brighter fall colors. So yeah, I do really like the results, and I got to use another one of my girl stickers, so that was of course a plus. Even though there's some variation to the stickers and ephemera and washi tapes that I used in all of my weekly spreads, they still have the same layout more or less, and they still have the same number stickers and similar daily headers. And so I do feel that it's cohesive, but because of all of the different stickers and ephemera, it's not boring. If that makes sense? Like they're not too similar, even though they are quite similar. And maybe that's what a good setup is, because it's not boring, that's for sure. There is something new every week, and it's easy to flip back and forth between the different weeks. And I do feel that I have all of the weeks in one spread, even though there's several. And maybe this is the setup that makes me fall in love with Dutch doors, because up until this point, I've been on the fence. Sometimes it's been nice, but it hasn't been fantastic. But now as I flip through my journal, I'm kind of itching to start using these spreads, and I think that it's going to be really great having these Dutch doors and having this whole setup for September. So yeah, this might be it. You might see this type of layout again from me in the future. I talked a little bit before about the stickers that I have in my shop, ikigaipapir.com, but I also wanted to quickly tell you about my Patreon, because I have a Patreon where the members get digital benefits every month, but 2 tiers also get physical benefits. So if you join the Patreon during August, you will actually get a printable journaling kit that corresponds with this theme. And if you join the Charles or the Twin Charles tier, you'll also get a sticker sheet and a vinyl sticker in the mail, and they are really cute this month. I really love them. I normally send them out at the beginning of the month, but if you join in the middle or later in the month, I just send them out as soon as you join. So this way you don't have to wait that long for your rewards. Anyone who joins my Patreon, regardless of the tier that you join, they have my eternal gratitude, because I'm honestly so grateful to anyone who decides to support me on Patreon. It literally means the world to me, because Patreon is the reason why I can keep doing this full time. So thank you so much. And if you want to give me a birthday present, then maybe you want to join my Patreon during September. Here I am just finishing up the weekly overviews here, and for the header I chose to use my planner headers again, because then it will match the habit tracker header on the left side of the spread. And I just wrote focus this week, because that's kind of what it is. And then for each of the boxes, I am using the typewriter stamps again to stamp the number of the week. I've talked about this several times before, but in Norway, we use week numbers with like 1 to 52. And it's just a way to keep track of where we are in the year and which week we're in. And it's used a lot when it comes to planning in like public spaces, like your job or school or even like public events. I stamped each of the boxes with the number of the weeks, and then I also stamped the tabs for each of the weeks so that when I have one week open, it will say which week it is on both sides of the tab. So that way I will always know which week it is, because I'll be honest, I forget which week we're in and I have to look up a calendar like every month when I set up my weeks, because if I don't write it down, then I forget. But that is actually the end of my setup. That is a lot of spreads that I made in this one video, and we're gonna go through all of them again, of course, as usual. We'll flip through with some close-ups. So here it is. I'm going to say it one last time. I'm really happy with how my spreads turned out this month. It just makes me really happy to look at them because they turned out kind of exactly how I had envisioned, and it's not always that happens, you know? So I'm really happy with them, and I hope that you enjoyed them too. And if you watched this video all the way to the end, be sure to put a maple leaf emoji in your comment to let me know. Once again, if you are curious about any of the materials that I used in this video, there will be links in the description box below. Some of them will be affiliate links, and they will be marked as affiliate links. And I have discount codes to those shops as well. So you can scroll further down into the description box and there will be discount codes there. My PO box address is also in the description box if you ever want to send me a letter. I don't reply to everyone because that's literally impossible, but I appreciate and read every single letter. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, then please click the subscribe button and also like this video because that really helps my channel. It helps YouTube show my videos to more people, and that's a win-win situation for everyone, right? I think I will leave you with that. Thank you again so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I hope that you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!